Now, number 3, look in your workbook with us. Look in your syllabus with us. And I want you to look at 2 things. I want you to look at what we call the sample calendar. Get that so you can look at it. Then flip over, look at the next page, and you're going to see your calendar that is your worksheet. Now, from the sample calendar, I'm going to explain it in detail. This is very important, and I need your careful attention on it. And we're going to move from that sample calendar to where you fill your calendar out. Notice on the sample calendar, there are some things that are important. Number 1 is this. On the sample calendar, you need to put in your name and the very first person that you're going to train in Operation Go. So that'll be you as the trainer. Notice we filled in, made-up names. John Smith, and then the person, this sort of thing. So there are 2 names there. There's the trainer and the trainee. You're the trainer, and then the first person you train is going to be the trainee. So look at your sample page in your syllabus right now. Look at that sample calendar and fill in, before you go anywhere else, in fact, if you have to stop the tape, it's okay, but fill in, first of all, number 1, look at your now that you fill out and put the first person you're going to train. Now, number 2, choose your starting date for Operation Go. Look at your sample calendar, and you'll see the date that we put as our starting date and actual day of the year. And then you'll see we've counted forward 13 weeks and put the ending date. Now, you remember that we encourage you to have 4 sessions per year, particularly for the first 2 years. Your people will do that. They'll make the commitment if you'll make the commitment. And so if you have 4 sessions, by the way, that's what's on your sample calendar. There are 4 sessions on your sample calendar. Again, look at the beginning date and look at the ending date. Then you'll see, as soon as that 13 weeks is over, notice we start our second 13-week session the very next week. And then we go 13 weeks into session number 2. Watch this. Then we start session number 3. Again, 13 weeks, the end of session number 3. And we keep going, and on your sample calendar, we have 8 sessions in 2 years. 1 per quarter, 8 sessions in 2 years. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to turn to your calendar and put the starting date down and make a commitment as to how many sessions, how many 13-week sessions that you'll teach Operation Go, that you'll run this program. And again, I encourage you to do it every quarter for the next 2 years. Don't miss a week. I know it takes a commitment, but let me just guarantee you it is worth it. It's worth the commitment. You'll see this from the potential in just a moment. Now, look at your sample calendar and notice the section that we've got on potential. In the section that deals with the potential, notice session number 1, at the end of that is 2. That's you plus the 1 that you've trained, so you have at the end of 13 weeks, 2 trained soul winners. Doesn't sound like many, does it? You say, wow, I thought I'd do a whole lot more than that. Remember we said 2 years? What you're going to ask God to help you to do in 2 years? Now watch this. Look at the end of session number 2. Because in that second session, you've got you as a trainer, and you've got the trainee that has now become a trainer. Now you've got 2 trainers. Each of you is going to have a trainee. Now you have 4 at the end of session number 2. Session number 3, you've got 8. That's your potential to train. At the end of your first year in 4 sessions, you have the potential now for 16 trained soul winners. You say, well, that's still not very many. Watch the second year. 32, 64, 128, 256. 256. You say, well, preacher, if I try this and somebody drops out, what's going to happen? Well, let's say that you work at it extremely hard and your potential is 256, and in 2 years you only train 160 soul winners that produce. What a way to fail. Hey, let me share something with you. I'd rather have 75% of 100 than 100% of nothing. Let me say that again. Any day of the week. I'd rather have 75% of 100 than 100% of nothing. There's nothing perfect on this earth but the Word of God. And Jesus himself that came. Hey, we're going to have people that may fall. We're going to have somebody that may move. But I want to tell you what, the potential is dynamic. Let me show you what we did. Way back there when we discussed what is a church. Session number 1. You remember what we dealt with? I said when I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, I started with me plus 2 men. You remember David told you to keep it small in the beginning. Now that meant that and you can do this, you can start with you, but you got to be willing to do what I did. I went out with A, man number 1, on Monday night, 3 to 4 hours. I went out with B, man number 2, 3 to 4 hours on Thursday night. I made the commitment to do it. I only trained 2 the first time through because I wanted to start with me plus 2. Now watch my potential. I had the potential of 3 at the end of session number 1. See, I'm talking about this long enough for us to really communicate. Now, I had the potential of 3. Session number 2, I could take 3 more on, which gave me 6, but I brought my wife in, and 1 lady, that's 8 at the end of session number 2. Watch this. Now, session number 3, 16. Session number 4, 32. Watch the second year, 64, 128, 256, 512. I miserably failed. We didn't have but 192 trained. Are you back on that? I'd rather have 80% of 100 than 100% of nothing. But I want you to know something. 192 have been trained in 2 years. Can you do that? Absolutely. We've had soul winner directors that have trained much more than I have in 2 years. We've had one church that has been training soul winners with Operation Go for about a 10, 11, 12-year period of time. They have trained over 1,100 soul winners. They have won thousands of people to Christ. We have one pastor overseas in 2 years who trained 182 soul winners, and in a very populated area, they won 44,000 people to Christ. Hang on. They baptized 912 of them in 1 year, and they started 7 brand new churches, and the church jumped from 140 to over 800 in a little under 2 years. You say, well, that's on the mission field. That's overseas. I want to tell you that, my friend, is the book of Acts. And that is New Testament Christianity. That is New Testament biblical principles of building a church in action. In fact, that's the Great Commission. God tells us to go and then to win. Then God tells us to do something else. He tells us to baptize the convert, then teach that convert to do for somebody else what you've just done for him. That's exactly what you're going to be training people to do in Operation Go. Now, one more time quickly, let's go back through your sample calendar, because I want you to get started, and I want you to start now. I mean now. Look at your sample calendar. Now, with your hand there, look at your calendar that you're going to fill out. You can put the day. It's a generic calendar. That means you can put the month, the day, the year. You can put the starting time. It's easy to fill out. You have the same blanks that we've got on our sample calendar over here. I want you to do this. Let's review it quickly. Number 1, put down your name and the first trainee you're going to train. That's you plus 1. That's 2. Now, choose your starting date. If you need help on that again, look at our sample calendar, then look at your calendar. Choose your starting date and put your ending date in place. Now you've got your first session. Now, put the potential to train at the end of session number 1, and it's 2, you plus 1. Now put your starting date at number 2, session number 2, your ending date. Put your potential, 4. Now, starting date, ending date, session number 3, potential, 8. Watch, starting date, ending date, session number 4, your potential, 16. 16 trained soul winners, and now fill out all the way through 2 years. Now, when you sit down with your pastor and you share your vision is to reach, train, and motivate 150, 120, 512, 256. I do not know what you have put down for that 2 years, but I can assure you your life is going to change, and you're going to be excited. And it's going to be tremendous to see what God does in your life. The Bible tells us that God, who has called us, is faithful to perform in us that which He's called us to do. You've got a tremendous opportunity before you. Start today. Don't let the devil bring you down from doing the will of God. I want to finish by asking you one question. What will it take to stop you? Think about that question. What will it take to stop you? I trust your answer is this: with the power of God and with the help of God, nothing is going to stop me. Because if you can be stopped, the devil is wise enough to give you an excuse to stop. Throw the excuses away, throw the reasons away, and let's do the will of God. May God bless you in a very wonderful way. We want to remain in every way we can your helper. You call our office. Any question you've got, we'll help. We're joining with you as a partner in this endeavor. We want your ministries to succeed, and we're going to help you every way we can. Again, God bless you and use you in a mighty way.